Alright, so today we're going to talk about Athena AI Service Setup. So just a quick agenda, we're going to cover why you should use services. We're going to cover basic setup of them, and then also how to add a service to your preset and do some basic configuration. So first and foremost, why should you use services? Services are a great way to gather more information about our environment when certain conditions have been met. So when you go into the actual preset itself, the Services tab has an option on it for setting a specific consideration value. So if we come under here under conditions, you can see that I have my condition here set to has target. We can set the condition type, mine is equal to, and then we can set the value, so 1.0. So that's because this is a Boolean consideration, but we can talk about that a little bit later. So I use services to do all kinds of things. So one of them that I use it for is updating the rotation when I need my AI to be aiming at their target. Because we can't just, have them looking any direction, we need them to look specifically at their target. I also use this as a method for finding cover, checking if their target's dead, and then checking their distance to various different world objects, whether it's their squad leader, their objective, or their target. So how do we create a service? So same process as normal. We right click in our folder, we're going to create a new blueprint, we're going to type in Athena AI, and then we're going to come down to Athena AI Service. So we'll select that. I like to name mine AS_test for this instance. I'm going to open that guy up, and then we're going to come up to functions again, just like we did with the tasks, and we're going to override. We have on-service start, on-service stop, and on-service tick. So start and stop are kind of self-explanatory. On-service stop, I do want to reiterate, it's very much like the on-task termination with tasks, where if there's any data that we need to have reset at the end of our service, we can reset that using this on-service stop. And then again, we have the event on-service tick. So this set is going to operate at whatever interval we set it to. So you can see if we go to class defaults, we can go to service, conditions, tick interval. This is set to 0.5 by default, meaning that anything you have set on event on service tick will execute every 0.5 seconds. So past that, it's really up to you how you want to use the logic of these to actually, it's up to you how you want to define the actual logic of what you want to do. So instead of actually building anything new out today, I'm just going to go through some quick examples of what I use it for. So on rotation, the first thing I do, this is for the update rotate service. So on service start, the first thing I'm going to do is check out the controller, get the controlled pawn, promote that to variable. This is all the standard issue stuff that I always do. But then on service tick, this is where we get into some nasty math. So I'm not going to go into the details of all this because it doesn't ultimately matter. But essentially what we do is basically check where the muzzle of our weapon is, check where our target is, and then we find the look at rotation and do some other fun stuff like cooking in some baked offsets and stuff like that depending on the distance. So one thing to note with services is I don't think they have a service finish or abort or anything like that. Unlike tasks, which you explicitly had to say on service finish or on service abort. Because with these, they abort or stop running once that Boolean condition changes back to false or, however you set it up. Once your consideration that you select in the preset has changed, this service stops executing. So up next, we'll check distance to target. So I use this to update my consideration for distance to target. So you can see it's kind of the same thing. We get our controller, promote it to a variable, we get the controlled pawn, promote that to a variable, and then gather some more information. It's the same thing on event on service tick. So here, this one is a little bit different because I'm actually calculating the distance that I'm using to update a consideration. So at every updated tick interval, I'm going to update using the set consideration value norm node. So essentially, what I'm doing here is I'm just updating the distance to the target, and then I'm forcing a rescore. So if you think back to when we covered consideration curves, I'm using this to set the the distance to the target every 0.5 seconds. So as that distance changes on the consideration curve, we might get different behavior based on what happens. Because something like distance to the target is really important in combat, I want to keep that updated every 0.5 seconds. Alright, so we've covered a few examples and basic integration. Let's come over back into the preset. We're going to see how you add this. So we're going to go to Services. We're going to click the little plus button here again, and we're going to add a new one down here at index 6. So we're going to come down here, we're going to select AS_test, expand all our boxes. Then we're going to go to conditions. So obviously I don't have any actual logic or goal of what I need to do here, but let's say that this is a service that has something to do with the health of the target. Maybe we want to find a health pickup in the world or something like that. Well, I want to check the health. I'm going to come to the value, and we can set this as less than, and let's just say 0.5. Meaning that when that consideration of health is less than 50% of its normalized value, then we want this service to activate to help us identify where a health target is. So then we could use this to maybe set a priority for move to tasks where this AI then decides, hey, I need to go pick up that health item real quick. So there's a lot of different options, and services are a really powerful tool that I didn't fully understand myself at first, because you can think about them, yes, as just gathering information, but as my example showed with the update rotation to target, you have a lot of different options on what you can actually do with it. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. As always, thanks for watching.